Book in a Bev. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of your favourite podcast, A Book and a Bev.
Absolutely your favourite.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
And if it's not, what are you doing here?
What are you doing? Just in general, what are you doing? I think we're quite funny, to be honest. I think we've got good content.
Look, at least one of us does, so that's a start. So you're back with Ellie, Bryony and Georgia this week, and we are covering part 2, likely of 3, of the Empire of Storms.
Definitely 3. Because we talk so much shit and there is so much in this book to cover.
It's just too much. If you've been wondering why there's just been not a lot of interruptions of screaming, perhaps, it's because our dear Gog is having computer issues, but she will join us eventually.
If you remember a couple weeks ago where our Queen of Shadows Part 2 episode was a little bit delayed coming out, that's what she's trying to fix right now.
Yeah, look, we've had a time. So we left off last week with Dear Manon hanging by a thread. Oh, yeah. And for some reason that just, like, the Lifehouse song Hanging by a Moment just came into my mind.
What a banger.
So she's hanging by a moment on a Braxos. It's beautiful. But we're going to rejoin half of our Scooby gang in Skulls Bay. It's the other half are journeying. And we're back with Rowan, our favourite person, well, at least my favourite person hawk I've ever encountered.
He's just so good, and every time I think of him, I have like a moment's silence, just like,
Yeah. See, look, Akatar, I was just like in love with Reese, in love with him. Like he was,
he's fucking like incredible. I get this almost weird thing in my head where I'm like, I love the couple so much that I'm like, I love you and I would do anything for you, but I also don't want to detract from your relationship. Like I want to give you the space because somehow me and this fictional man are going to run off into the sunset.
You're like Marshall from How I Met Your Mother, where he has to kill off Lily to be able to have an affair, a fictitious affair.
Yes, literally. So then in my head I go, all right, who else is available? And that's where Azrael comes in Akatar for me, because I just know he's filthy. I know it.
Yeah. That man.
I'm dying to get more of Fenris. Like, I love him in this series. And you just love him more from here. Like, it keeps going. I'm filthy for Fenris.
I'm so excited.
And as we're recording this as well, Ellie is currently in the middle of her Tower of Dawn read. And I'm also filthy for Sartak.
Oh, yes, the one with the giant bird.
Yeah, the winged prince.
Yeah. Speaking of sexy men, we're back with Rolf. Our sexy pirate man.
Rolf.
Look, I know he's not the best character, but, you know, I'd go there.
Tattooed man, absolutely.
Yeah. And he isn't willing to speak with Rowan or Dorian or the 2 other Fae boys because he's just busy doing pirate things, you know? He's got a jar of dirt. He's got very important things going on. And Dorian isn't really having it though. He decides that Rolf is going to see them one way or another. So he's like, do you know, I may not be great at combat and warfare, but you know what I am good at? Gossip.
Absolutely.
I can start a mean rumour. He basically starts off some little gossip train to go back to Rolf about some fictitious war. Well, it's not really fictitious. There is war happening. He just puts some mayonnaise on it.
I love you're like, there's got to be a dressing.
That's a common saying. I haven't just pulled that one out. That's a thing. Let's get back to Rolf. We've heard about the gossip that Dorian started. So when they finally dupe him into seeing them, they walk in and find none other than Miss Aelin Galathinius sitting with her feet on Rolf's desk. Much like that first time she was in his office. We have a quote. I like this office far better than your other one, Rolf. Screaming, dying, shitting.
Throwing up, as God would say. This chapter is one of my favourite chapters of all time. It's just this whole dynamic where Aelin is being Selena and she's at the desk and Rowan's there and Rowan is like, I fucking just all of the eye sex.
Trying to play it cool, but immediately has a boner. He's just at attention.
And then you've got Fenris and Gavriel behind them as well. Rolf is like, bitch, what the fuck are you doing, Selena Sardothian? Aelin is like, cool, calm, collected. And she's like, oh my God, who's this with you, Dorian? And he's looking at Rowan. And we get this exchange where Rowan's like, I'm not on the market, unfortunately. And Aelin says, pity, she must be a rare beauty to make you so faithful. And at this stage, she's also got these little emeralds, right? So she's slowly throwing them, like with each plunk. She's like, she must be clever, plunk, and fascinating, plunk, and very, very talented, Like, she must be the most wonderful person who ever existed. And Rowan's like, she is indeed that and more.
Oh, my beating heart. Fuck me.
Oh my god. Rolf is like, I will do whatever you boys want if you kill this bitch right now. And Dorian says, you will find, Rolf, that one does not deal with Selena Sardothian. One survives her.
That is great.
Rolf says, yo bitch, your little slave stunt cost me way too much. Get the fuck out. And Aelin's like, well no, I don't think I will. Allow me to introduce you to my dear friend, Aelin Galathinius. And Aelin indeed walks in and sits next to the real Aelin. And Rolf is like, what in the fuck is this witchcraft? Obviously it's Lysandra. She changes back to her normal skin and Aelin is like, surprise. Grandmummy, it's me, Aelin Ashruba Galathinius.
There you have it. Amazing. Amazing. Do you know what? This is all reminding me so much, sorry for everyone, but Taylor Swift. We all know our dear Taylor Swift has just released Midnights. And
yes,
she is, as the iconic song says, a mastermind.
She is.
So is Aelin. And I'm not sure if anyone's watched the Anti-Hero music video, but there are twin Taylor Swifts in that. And she's just like pretending to have fun with her twin self. And this is just what Aelin's done. So they are one and the same.
Where's the lie? There is
one. Is an assassin and fictitious.
She's doing some vigilante shit.
Like, how am I sharp enough to kill a man? I mean, it fits. Okay, so Rolf is like, get absolutely fucked, clearly. And then we have a quote. The world, Aelin said, will be saved and remade by the dreamers, Rolf. Because he was always like, you're a dreamer. Like, why are you helping the slaves? You need to be realistic. Look at the world. And she's like, it's not a bad thing to dream about a better place. Aelin tries to convince him to help, but she doesn't really do a great job. And he essentially says that they have 2 days to get the fuck out. Otherwise, he will kill her. And it's like, good luck. You may have a magic map tattooed onto your hands, Rolf, but you are no match for Aelin.
I definitely heard you saying you might have a magic bap, like magic tits tattooed. So now I'm just imagining his hands are tits.
He's just got 2 magic tits. As they leave, Gabriel is like, where is my baby boy? And Aelin's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So Gabriel is like on the verge of breaking now because he's like, I want to see my child. And Aelin's like, you don't get to choose if you see him or not. And I adore it. We love how she sets strong boundaries and we need some of that in our own
boundaries. We really do. I love boundaries.
Dorian and Aelin are chatting with the crew and Dorian tells her about Manon. They think she will be a valuable ally if they can turn her to their cause, which shouldn't be hard given that the opposition are trying to impregnate her race with fucked up demon pigs. Richard, Stephen and the gang, they're just...
Yeah, there's 8 prongs coming at you.
Also, Dorian's slightly in love with her, but that's beside the point right now.
What's new? So, while Gabriel was having this little moment, Lysandra had yeeted off to go warn Adium. And so we go to them and Adium and Lysandra are in the streets. They're doing a little test. Lysandra has shapeshifted into a prostitute and Adium is staring at her titties. He's like, look at those baps. I want to see those baps on Rolf's hands.
That's what he's looking at. He's like, oh, that's an interesting tattoo, Rolf. You need to give me your tattoo artist's name. Well, I'm here. I'll just schedule some in.
Lysandra is wearing the amulet of Orinth, and so they're wanting to test Rolf's tattoos to see if it shows up, and that Rolf will be like, well, that is a very interesting situation, and we should look into that. Dorian comes to check on how they're going, and Adium is kind of like a little bitch to him. Yeah, Adium has a weird moment, and Lysandra is like, stop being a fucking cunt.
Hello, I am back. Whether it's for the foreseeable future or whether it is just for the time being, you're welcome for my presence.
Love the confidence.
Be grateful, you little fuckers.
Yeah. All right? Fucking hell. All right? Anyway, continue.
Lysandra and Adium are kind of having like a little heated bro down about how Adium's being a little bitch to Dorian, and we get this quote from Lysandra. He was enslaved, he was tortured for months, not just by his father, but by that thing inside of him. He was violated, and even if you cannot draw up forgiveness for stabbing Aelin against his own will, then try to have some compassion for that. Aelin snarled at her. Lysandra snarled right back and held his stare. I love the dominance. I love it.
I
don't
love
understand.
Lysandra.
But I don't understand Aelin. Why is he shitty? Because when Dorian was possessed, he tried to kill Aelin?
Yeah.
Is that
it's
it?
like we all have our moments. That was Stephen or Richard. I can't even remember what demon it was inside him. This like moment of argument between Aelin and Lysandra gets a little bit heated and he starts staring at her mouth. It kind of spooks Lysandra and she takes a step back and looks panicked. He feels terrible because like he knows that she probably wouldn't want another man's touch for a long time, maybe forever, given, you know, her poor backstory. And Aelin would never want to push her into anything. They change trauma topics. They go from that and they decide it's time to discuss Aelin's daddy. Aelin asks if Gabriel seemed like he wanted to meet him, and Lysandra says yes. Aelin's never been able to have a choice like this before for himself, and Lysandra knows what that means. He ends up asking her to come with him to see his father tomorrow.
Oh,
I love it.
beautiful. But also imagine if he was like, I think I'd like to go get some ice cream with Dad.
And she's just at a nearby table, just like,
Yeah.
you're doing great, sweetie. Someone starts walking down the alleyway and they pretend to be doing something very cheeky, but it's just a young girl and she leaves after spotting them. So that's some weird vibes.
This poor girl just has her eyes violated. She's like, oh,
It's-
God. Oh, fuck. Oh.
What's that thing? It's like, what's worse? A child.
It's a child. Although I'm fairly sure the child is like Rolf's barmaid or something, so he just sent her.
That we've already met once. Like, so it's not that unusual, but you know.
I have a question. Has anyone ever noticed someone staring at their mouth before? Like, have you had
yes,
the thought of,
But
yes,
it's
you're looking...
been because I've had food stuck on my mouth.
Okay. Not in a romantic way, then.
I have.
Oh.
And it was the same person who ripped my
off the
skirt. Yeah.
Was he a generous lover?
He was.
I really hope he's doing well wherever
Me too.
he is.
Me too.
Shout
Me
out
too.
to Max.
Shout out to Max.
Max. And his skirt ripping and mouth
And his
looking
skirt
at.
ripping and mouth looking and forehead touching. There was also that.
Oh!
It was during.
Oh.
What in the actual fuck?
So in conclusion, only Georgia has encountered the mouth staring. Now we are with Elides and Lorcan, and they're still travelling with the circus. You know, they've run away with the circus. Why not? They're off getting firewood when Lorcan keeps asking her questions, specifically about Morath. And he keeps calling her Marion, and she's like, you know, look, I know I told you my name is Marion, but that is my dead mother who was murdered brutally. And that is actually, in hindsight, quite triggering.
Quite, actually. That's my dead mum.
Well, she ends up telling him about the dungeons that were destroyed in Morath, and he's like, tell me the layout of them. And if you've also got the blueprints of their build and design, I'd also take that too.
You've got
She's
the
like, "This is in the
architectural
block."
plans. Please pass them on.
Yeah, but he's like, also, I need you to tell me the exact measurements from the door to the window.
How many steps?
How many awkward... He, like, looks at her, looks down at her feet. Awkward slides, was it?
She's like, I don't know, you motherfucker. So essentially, she does tell him to get fucked. And she literally does not back down to this big, great, giant man beast. And she's like this little, tiny, crippled thing. And I'm like, yes, stand in your power.
Go, you crippled thing.
Good crippled thing.
Oh my god.
He ends up telling her that Selena is under Aelin's care. So both of their paths lead to one. Because remember how she's like, I need to find Selena to give her this giant rock. And then I also want to find Aelin. And he's like, yes, that sounds great. And now he's like, they're one and the same. But hasn't actually told her that they're the same person.
Dickhead.
She's like, you just want the blueprints. So no matter what you withhold and what you don't tell me, I still don't have the blueprints. And he's like, you will tell me, but I will be patient. And she's like, it doesn't change the situation here.
She's like, all right,
Lorcan.
you do you, bro.
Yeah. Like, also, this is like divulged in some heavy trauma. Like, I'm going to need a therapist to work through this shit. Elides keeps thinking about how she can't offer anything to Aelin's court other than laundry, which, I mean, that's going to be needed.
Honestly, they're going to have a lot of laundry.
And even if they do it themselves, you're going to have to show them how because they haven't done it for a while.
Yeah.
And also, you've got a banged up ankle, so maybe just rest up for a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have to put yourself in that mess, Elides. You can just rest.
Just rest.
Unless you're cotton socks.
Well, she
So
can't wear
she's worried
socks
about-
because she's got that fucked ankle.
The fucked up ankle.
Just got a mood boot on.
You know, if anyone is going to rock a moon boot, it's going to be Elide and her back.
Yeah, honestly.
And her back.
Honestly.
She, again, her main personality trait. Big
Titties,
tits.
tatas. Wah, 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 wah.
Empire. Empire of the Baps at this
Empire
time.
of the Baps.
Okay, so Elide and Lorcan, they get back to camp. It's not Camp Rock, unfortunately. They're not all just walking around in a line.
Camp Rock.
Camp Rock! It would be brilliant if they were, but alas, they are
Demi
not.
Lovato almost died.
That's actually Lorcan's magic. He doesn't do anything.
Camp Rock.
Camp Rock.
Unfortunately, we're not at Camp Rock. We're at Camp Circus, and they've pitched a tent for them, but not that kind of pitching of tenting. No,
Later.
That's later. Just a real tent right now, and they have to share it.
Georgia.
Did you?
You only just realised.
Took
Did
her a
you
minute.
see that it went ding? I was like, pitching tent.
Pitch a tent.
Pitch. Oh, yeah, okay.
His
Yeah,
penis.
that is the
Not his
pitch.
penis.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, Lorcan knows that Elide is close to snapping, so he should try to be nice. So he does for a minute. He offers for her to take a bath and wash her clothes, and she's like, okay then, sure. You're just inferring that I stink, but fine, no worries. So she's like, well, if I have to be naked, then you two also have to be naked. Show me your
Obviously.
schlong. And he's like, well, I'm really old and you're young, just with giant tits. And she's like, a body's a body. He gets out of the tent so she can, undress, so he doesn't have to see her. And it's like, there will come a time and a place for that, my friend, just you wait. And he hears her with his weird fey hearing, sliding something under the mattress. And he's like, what is that?
It's a dildo.
It is.
She's like, if I'm sleeping
She
naked,
is.
I'm fucking getting off.
So when he comes back inside into the tent, she's under a blanket, but he can see the outline of her bosom. So she's still quite a woman.
Still quite
We need
woman.
to preface that because
Quite woman.
he's old and she's young, but not in that way.
Not in a
He's just-
pedophilia way.
It's not, because if it is, that means Rowan is, that means Reese is, that
Stop. Don't go down
yeah,
that.
It needs to be acknowledged. I'm acknowledging it and I'm accepting it. Look, I'm into an older man. If I had a 400-year-old fade male just come over to me and I'd be like, yeah, you know what? You've got life experience. You're finally mature.
yeah, took you 400 years, but hey, we got there.
We're here now. You know that man would do
Oh
the
my
dishes without
God.
prompting.
Absolutely.
You know
know.
he'd be able to
He's
find
already
your
taken-
clit in one go.
Do you know what? He's already identified his own love language and he is receptive to yours.
Yeah, he's accepting.
So, yeah, she's under the blanket. He's bought her food. She starts to open up a bit. Here we are.
Elide tells Lorcan that her uncle was a commander in Morath and that he put her in the dungeons. And we get this moment where Lorcan froze and looked right to that bedroll, but Marion continued between bites. He locked me in the dungeons once. The wind in the grasses died. The campfire beyond their tent flickered, the people around it huddling closer together as the nighttime insects went silent. The small furred creatures of the plains scampered into their burrows. Marion either didn't notice the surge of his dark power, the magic kissed by death himself, or didn't care. He's getting angry.
I love it when he's just like,
Hey, fucking what? He asks very quietly and calmly, would you like me to kill him for you? Happens to be my love language is acts of service.
you absolutely can.
Marion tells Lorcan that the dungeons didn't burn on accident. And Lorcan asks if he had her in the dungeon for a long time because of her ankle. And she says, oh no, he did the ankle and the chain thing like a long time ago. And Lorcan's like, what chain? He sees the tan line from the chain and the shackles around her ankle. The wind goes silent. And Elide just says, when you kill my uncle, ask him yourself.
I'm so turned on.
One might say whips and chains do excite him.
Yeah. So Aelin and Rowan sneak into Fenris and Gabriel's room. They're like, what the fuck? Use the fucking door next time. And Aelin's like, well, where's the fun in that? Why would I do that? And we get this quote. Fenris's beautiful face twitched with amusement that didn't quite meet his onyx eyes. What a shame it would be for you to miss out on any of that. She grinned at him and he grinned at her. She supposed both of their smiles were less of a grin and more teeth exposing. I just love the dynamic already. Like, I love it.
Yeah, already.
They end up chit-chatting about Maeve, and she asks about the blood oath in attempts to make sure that Maeve doesn't have a claim over Aelin somehow, being Gabriel's son and whatnot. We also get a little bit more information on half-fae people settling, which is when they either stay mortal or become immortal. Inside mortals. They actually just all fuck mortals. They end up talking briefly about Maeve's plans. Aelin ends up getting a lot of info from this, and the men don't know what she plans to do, just that she's heading to Ilway. So her and Rowan end up leaving, and they go up to the roof, and they're having like this moment. And just bear with me for this beautiful quote. Are you ready? This was what drove her out of her mind, this fire between them. They could burn the entire world to ashes with it. He was here and she was his. And they had found each other across centuries of bloodshed and loss, across oceans and kingdoms and war. Scrying, creaming.
My God.
Creaming.
Creaming, far out.
Queefing, in fact.
Creaming.
Another quote we get that makes me like absolutely lose my marbles is they're like making out. It's all tonsil tango. And Rowan says, even when you're in another kingdom, Aelin, your fire is still in my blood, my mouth.
Oh,
Jesus!
on fire!
See, she's gushing.
So, next chapter, Aelin couldn't sleep at all that night because obviously he's preparing in his mind to see his daddy. And like basically when him and Lysandra got back, Dorian was asleep and Lysandra changed back into her normal form and almost like falls over because she's so dizzy from the transformation. And she's like naked because she gets too hot. And when he tries to cover her, she's like, no, you've seen plenty of women before. I don't give a flying fuck if you see me nude. He is like rubbing her back as she falls asleep sitting up because she's all like, don't touch me. I just want to sit here. I'm tired. And she goes into one of those like magic sleeps where her magic is like refilling, so she's like dead to the world. And he puts her back to bed and then tosses and turns all night in his own cot until morning, and then they both get up and go to see his Faja.
Oh, Daddy. So when Aelin arrives, Daddy's in shock. But Aelin doesn't want to give him time to say anything because he's like, you know what? You fucked my mum and you impregnated her with me, and she was 23 years old when she died because of you somehow and your queen who would not allow my mother to enter her realm without targeting me. So she protected me from you via her.
Why is this a fucking haiku? Why is this turning into fucking poetry? Ellie's getting like emotional. She's doing emotional.
She's doing
interpretive dance.
spoken word.
Spoken word.
I am. It's like I'm at a poetry slam.
Cynthia, Adrian, you impregnated my mother with semen. And then I came out. I was birthed. And then I had to fight in battle.
This is what I want my wedding speech to be. I want you guys to do this.
Do like full on spoken words poetry slam. Everyone buckle in. I ejaculate inside all of these people. Men and women. You're welcome for that poetry slam if it stays in.
I'm staying in. My whole face hurts. Oh, you're too good at that. Okay, well, the reason I was emoting was because because he has daddy issues. And essentially, he blames Daddy for Mummy dying, despite the fact that Daddy knew that he existed or that Mummy was dying.
Yeah, he didn't. Gabrielle did not have a clue. Not a single one.
No, but essentially, Aiden's mum got really, really sick and refused to go seek healers from Dorinel because she didn't want Maeve to find out Aiden existed, because she knew that Maeve would use that in some form of Maeveness to get back at Gabrielle.
Which she would.
So Aiden's like, fuck you, fuck your queen, and fuck whatever you're doing unless you're helping us, and fuck off.
And fuck your cow.
And fuck your cow while you're at it. Lysandra is like, say the word and I'll go back there and turn into the face of their nightmares. And he's like, oh, fuck, whoa, Jesus, what is that? And she's like, you will see.
There's a little
Ooh.
something I've been working on.
We love to see it. The same day, Aelin gets up and Rowan is blue balls right now. His testosterone levels are through the roof and he's about to punch the drywall because all he wants to do is fuck her. That's it.
All we want as well.
They're not going to see Rolf, and Gabriel and Fenris are already in there. Rolf is about to say, get the fuck out, but Fenris chimes in after seeing Rowan's all like territorial fey manly man face and is like, today is not the day, Rolf. Just if I were you, I'd just keep your lips sealed, as Hilary Duff once said.
Zip your lips like a padlock.
So they find out that Morath's armies are poised to strike Ilway, and George is doing I can't. What would Morath be?
I don't know. Just
A bonnet. Eminem?
just that.
A butthole.
A butthole. Just a giant butthole.
All right, look, Aelin is like, why? Elway have no army. And then she realizes it's because of her. She's looking at the map like laid out in front of them, and she looks at Briarcliff and the Red Desert and thinks of the life debt owed to her. And she says to Rolf, you will lend me your fleets, or too bad, so sad. And he's like, no. And she's like, well, actually you will, because I know your secret, and it is that you are like the heir of the Mycenian people who also owe me a debt. Rolf is shook. We're all shook. Shock, horror. She then releases a tendril of power out into the world, aka a magical fart. Because otherwise it's just a magical crop dust, because otherwise the magic will consume her. Rolf is again shook. He's like, that is a stinker.
He's like, well, fuck me dead.
Aedion and Lysandra walk into the wherever the fuck they are, and Lysandra goes to the window to watch Aelin's magical fart just like drift out across the ocean. And Aedion ends up going full general kind of vibes, and Gabriel's like, oh my god, my child has trauma. Obviously, Gabriel, where have you been?
So Aelin is basically sick of waiting. So she gets up to leave, and then Rolf is like, is that it? And Aelin's like, yes, if you're not going to help me, then that's it. Whatever. And as she's leaving, we get this moment. Rolf says, did Sam die still pining after you, or did you finally stop treating him like filth? There was a choking sound and a slam and rattle of glasses. She looked slowly to find Rowan with his hand around Rolf's neck. The captain pressed onto the map, the figures scattered everywhere, Rowan's snarling teeth close to ripping off Rolf's ear. Rowan leaned in, murmuring something in Rolf's ear that made him blanch, then shoved him a bit harder onto the table before stalking for Aelin.
That's so hot.
That makes me absolutely fucking feral, that does.
Gushing.
I'm absolutely slopping wet.
Slopping.
Okay then. You're not creaming at this point, or is that to
Oh
come?
no, I'm fucking the creaming's come. It's laid its eggs. It's
Oh no.
reading too
I'm
much
not even
monster porn.
participating with that.
Wait. In monster porn, do people get pregnant by monsters?
Oh, I've been reading Demon Smut recently, and yes.
Must everyone procreate?
For Centrelink.
For a plot point.
The demons at Centrelink, like, and
Lining
they're like,
up.
oh, hi, Jerry, how's it going? Oh,
Can I please get my child support assessment research?
I just need my family tax benefit A and B put through, please.
Please, thanks. Anyway,
Alright.
fuck me. Okay. Go on. So, that makes us all absolutely feral. We fucking love that. Rowan whispering in his ear. Love it. Next minute, before they can leave, Rolf's tattoo turns black. Like
Oh,
Erewhon. Black. Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh. They're all like, ruh-roh. They're all like, fuck. But Aelin is just like chill as a cucumber. And Rolf's like, oh my god, you summoned them here. And she's like, well, no, I didn't. But too bad you're not helping me, right? Because I help my allies. And
Lol.
if you're not, then too bad, so sad.
So sad. That sucks for you.
She's so evil and I love it. Rolf is like, I've taken a moment. You know? And yeah, sure, fine. I'm gonna be a lord. I'm gonna be a king of the archipelago or whatever the fuck, and a whole bunch of other shit we don't care about.
Sounds like a fucking acapella group.
I want to be queen.
He's like,
the acapella.
Yeah, I really love those Pitch Perfect movies. She's like, done deal, my friend, and now she's going to go and beat some ass.
She's going to beat some ass.
Gonna-
And Aelin is still mad about fucking the people and his father's over there, and he's very sad.
Right, okay. So we're back with Dorian, and he is shook, which is unusual for him. He's never shook. Never.
He's normally in love.
He's got two emotions in this book. It's either pure shooketh or love. There is no in between.
No.
So he's shocked because he's like, Aelin is fucking crazy. And it's also like, what did you expect, Dorian? Have you met her? Yeah, she kind of is. And he's like, well, she did summon the Valkyrie using her magic tendril fart thing, so oops. And Dorian realises now that he should try to be a bit more wicked, like the musical. And it's like, yes, Dorian, where have you been?
He's been defying gravity.
He has been off defying gravity. Oh. But he just needs a little bit more dick about him, you know? Like,
he needs to be dicked.
Yeah, where's Kale? Where's his boyfriend?
We know the dick still works-ish. So
that's right, he thinks Fenris is beautiful. Maybe Fenris can give him the dicking.
Oh my god, that would be brilliant.
Okay, they are preparing for battle. Yay. And Aelin is in one of the watchtowers and Dorian is in the other because they're like, Dorian, just, go play cards or something over there, mate. We'll call you in when we're ready for you. Aelin, Rowan, Lysandra, Fenris and Gabriel are going out into the water on a boat. In fact, on Rolf's boat.
I'm on a boat. I'm on a boat, motherfucker.
Prestige worldwide. Aelin asks Rolf for his iron chains because she thinks that she needs to start getting a little bit kinky out there on the water for Rowan. She's like,
tie me out, babe. Do excite me.
They do indeed, they do. It's not quite that. It's because they're going into the middle of the enemy line and she's going to blow them all up and she needs some sort of tether to keep her within herself. Turns out that doesn't quite work, but the thought was there.
She tried. Aelin is basically doing all of this to send a message to her people, to all of the peoples, that she isn't just some silly princess farting and whatnot. She's a queen and a force of nature.
She's not just farting around here willy-nilly, no.
She's not gallivanting.
She's farting with purpose.
It's intentional. So they're on the boat. Lysandra is getting ready. But for what? We're unsure at this moment, but we know it's something big and awful. But great at the same time because Aelin says, happy hunting. They get the iron chains ready on this boat, ready to attach to Aelin, and Lysandra just decides to go and have a little dip, So she just toddles off to the side of the boat, sits on it, and then just yeets. And everyone's like, oh my god! But next minute, there's this commotion, and there is a sea dragon jumping out of the water. Rolf's ship is called the Sea Dragon, so his men are freaking out and they're like, oh my god, it means the Mycenium people can come home. It's a whole cultural moment. We're then in Lysandra's point of view. She's embracing the body of the sea dragon and getting used to it, which she also learnt its shape from when they were back in Brannan's temple, FYI. But she knows she has to survive this battle to come. She has to be the animal, be the beast, go full off the deep end.
Be the dragon, become the dragon. You are the dragon.
Absolutely. And the quote we get is, and so she began her death vigil.
Oh. Amazing. So, they're going out in the boat. We're on a boat, motherfucker. And they've lifted the chains, to block any exit/entry to the island. So the city is safe, if their plan works. So, they head out to sea, and Rowan and Aelin cut their hands and begin, tunneling down into their power because she's just going to blow a fucking fuse into this army. She is just going to explode fire. Farts.
So much farting, so much gas.
Yeah.
It is in fact
Rowan's
a gas leak at this stage.
Oh, Rowan's sitting next to her with just a lighter at her anus, ready.
Bend over, babe.
She's had some KFC, so it's really it's all up in there.
She's been drinking coffee all day. So they finally slowly descend to the bottom of their magic. And then when Rolf shouts, now, we get this quote. And like a feral beast freed of its leash, her magic erupted. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Her power is so strong. She just keeps going and going. And Rowan is screaming her name. Aelin! Aelin! And then all of a sudden there's this giant boom!
In that tone. Aelin!
But she's not Aelin anymore. Aelin can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's
possessed
dead.
by a goddess.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But no, her eyes are in fact silver, and she is Diana.
That chick who gave her the arrow back in book 1.
She's
like,
now just turned around and been like, actually, I didn't want you to have that arrow. You're a fucking little bitch. So I'm here to
I take
fuck
back
up.
my blessing.
Yeah, I'm here to fuck up
She's
shit.
sending mixed messages at this point.
She is.
She's,
All the gods are. They're fucked right now.
They've all synced their cycles and they're all just collectively PMSing all over it.
Absolutely.
So, Deanna says to Rowan within Aelin's body, every key has a lock. Tell the queen who was promised to retrieve it soon. For all the allies in the world shall make no difference if she does not wield the lock. If she does not put those keys back with it, tell her flame and iron, together bound, merge into silver to learn what must be found. A mere step is all it shall take. That's
cool.
Ominous.
Super
Ominous.
helpful, Diana. Diana?
They're all
Yeah.
talking in like slam poetry. She's like, that's literally what it is. Every key has a lock, but tell her flame and iron, together bound, merge.
That should be taught at uni. Anyway, then she covers her hands in moon fire. Wasn't aware moon had fire, but here we are. Anyway, then we're back in Aelin's point of view. The goddess stepped through the gate in the necklace. So when she was like funneling down into her power, she like accidentally funneled down into the necklace. Oops.
She actually funneled down into Deanna's asshole.
Yeah, she got right on in
she's
there.
like knocking on the door. Aelin is there, but she's not really. Kind of like when Dorian was possessed by Stephen Richard Dick Prince. So when Deanna goes to use the moon flame, instead of using it on the dark fleet, she turns to use it on the civilians, which again, Deanna, I'm questioning your choices.
Deanna, what the fuck, you fucking cunt?
Seriously, what have they done to you? Like, Jesus. Why wouldn't you help the team that's trying to get you back into, like, godhood?
Yeah,
Fuck.
what is wrong with her?
So then Rowan is there. He grabs her hand and puts it on his heart, and she realizes who she is. And we get this quote, and Aelin Galathinius remembered her own name as she shattered through that cage that the goddess had shoved her into, as she grabbed that goddess by the damned throat and hurled her out. Ooh, I got really mad then.
You went on the journey. I loved it.
Not
And like
today,
the
you
reason she stops trying to kill civilians is because Rowan's in the way and she can't hurt him.
Because they're mates. So she manages to throw herself sideways and twist, basically, to shove her hands towards the darkness again, but like towards the ship and not the civilians and not the dark fleet. But what that does is blow up the ship that they're standing on.
Yeah, it's
Not
a
a
bit
great
of a
time.
problem.
Yes.
Aelin basically comes to and doesn't know where she is, but all she can think is like, what have I done? Fenris appears and he's got her, and then we get this quote. Before she could remember how to speak, they vanished into nothing, into darkness that was both solid and insubstantial as it squeezed her tightly. He moved them somehow, jumped between distances, so Fenris can winnow.
Winner, chicken dinner. That he
Absolutely. And then we see Rowan on a reef and he's like swimming towards her, and him and Fenris basically guard her back, and then they all swim as fast as they can to this reef, basically. She sees like bodies everywhere, Rolf's men, Valve's men, it's a whole problem. She wonders where Lysandra is, and just as she thinks it, we jump into Lysandra's point of view. Lysandra frees Rolf and his second in command from floating away like a piece of seaweed, and she then goes to try and destroy the other ships when she sees them, the sea wyverns. She manages to destroy one boat of like enemy soldiers but gets sliced in the process, and then the wyverns get a taste of her blood in the water and begin to chase her. She leads them away from the men and manages to kill one of them, and then the other one is heading like straight for Rowan and Aelin on the reef, but the wyvern doesn't get within like 20 feet of the reef. She manages to kill it and destroys another boat while doing it, but she like breaches the surface, totally pooped out, and Aelin is screaming at her, not in pain, but in warning, because there's 3 spiked fins coming straight for her. Big ones. We have this whole moment where, like, Rolf earlier in the book when he was discussing that there's sea wyverns in the water and it's causing a bit of a problem for trade routes, that if you kill the baby wyverns, the mama wyverns are very, very pissed. And wouldn't you know it, she just killed the babies. She said kill the children.
Pro-choice.
She is. This whole chapter is fucked. Lysandra is so tired. Like, she's so fried, but she's like, fuck it up, I've got a job to do. She goes off diving straight towards the warships and throws herself out of the water and onto one of the ships. There's like arrows flying everywhere, blood everywhere. We're crying, screaming, sobbing. Aelin is watching this whole thing happen from the tower when one of the wyverns flies out of the water after her and impales itself. She doesn't stop and goes and like heads straight for Dorian's tower, trying to lure this other wyvern close enough for Dorian to take it out, and he knows what to do. Just as she makes a sharp turn, he flings out his magic and the beast is trapped. Then a catapult launches a rock at it and the frozen wyvern is yeeted. There's only one adult wyvern left at this stage, but she's so tired and she's got so many wounds. The wyvern is so much larger than her and she's so weak, it's like horrifying, but she doesn't stop, and this time she heads for Aelin. He's ready on this like giant fuck off spear launcher that's giving us like Sam Cortland vibes, to be honest.
Oh, it really is.
He aims and she launches herself out of the water and pivots just as the big wyvern jumps out and a spear is fired straight through the wyvern's throat. It's just like an incredible shot by Aelin, honestly.
It's so perfect. I loved it and I was scared. Like when the first time I was reading this, I was absolutely shitting bricks because I was like, I love Lysandra, she can't die.
And she's giving so much of herself
Because
for all of these people.
Yeah, because she's like, this is my family. And I'm like, oh, babe, I love you. But the men are absolutely cheering, and Aelin is sprinting for the beach that Lysandra is now like slowly trying to drag herself up on, but she's still in her sea dragon form. And Aelin and Rowan are also trying to get back to shore from the reef. When Aelin gets to her, she's completely sea dragon still, and he has to try to like coax the woman out from her, and he tells her that one of the men in the tower said that they wanted to marry her. So he says this, but you know what I told them? I said they don't stand a chance in hell because I am going to marry you one day. I'm going to marry you. I will be generous and let you pick when, even if it's 10 years from now or 20, but one day you are going to be my wife. Those eyes narrowed in what he could only call female outrage and exasperation. He shrugged. Princess Lysandra Ashriver sounds nice, doesn't it? And then the dragon huffed in amusement, exhaustion, but amusement. I'm screaming, dying.
So then Aelin finally gets to shore and she throws herself at Lysandra and she's just sobbing and she's saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And Aelin, this is like the first time he's been fucking pissed with her because he realizes that Aelin had the word key on today and that's why everything went to shit. So he ends up staying with Lysandra while Aelin goes back to shore reluctantly to make sure that there isn't any fallout with Rolf because she's like, sorry, just killed half of your men and blew up your best boat. My bad, I was possessed by some weird goddess who I thought was my friend because she one time gave me an arrow. Turns out that was all just lies. Not sure where she was going with that, but here we are. Gabriel stays back and watches Aelin take care of Lysandra, and he knows the story of today would be told over campfires forever, and he wonders if his son will ever let his name be whispered alongside his.
Oh my god!
So
the pain I feel is phenomenal. Aelin meets with Rolf, who obviously isn't happy about the turn of events. He's like, you almost killed my entire fucking town. And she's like, well, I didn't, so what are you complaining about? Rolf tells her how the sea god killed his family as payment for the maps on his hands. He's like, what payment will your power be? Yes. What price, I wonder? If we could name what a price would be, I wonder if we could come up with a name price.
3 shillings and a copper.
Absolutely.
Just kale at this point. Just kale.
Kale's legs. Cut him off. Cut him off.
We'll leave him with a nice tidy stump. Anyway, she leaves and goes to the now empty beach and she speaks to Rowan, and Rowan asks her if she purposely used the key, and she's like, nope.
It was in fact an accident.
Yeah. Oops. And she is so mad at Rowan for being okay with everything, and he's not. Like, he wants to go hunt Deanna down, but he's also like, this wasn't your fault. You're okay. Everything's all right. Everyone survived. And Aelin's like, you're crazy. Maybe that's why Marla likes you. We have a quote. And it is, because I'm the only one arrogant and insane enough to ask Marla Firebringer to let me stay with the woman I love.
Every moment is beautiful and I'm so happy for everyone involved.
It gets better. It gets so much better.
It gets so much better. Aelin then burns all of her clothes off.
Dramatic.
Okay.
I love it.
All right, then, sure.
Naked.
Naked. Now she's just starkers and she's just lying on the beach. And Rowan's like, yes, in this moment, this is it. Spread your legs.
The quote is, Aelin says, I love you. I'm in love with you, Rowan. I have been for a while, and I know there are limits to what you can give me, and I know you might need time. His lips crashed into hers, and he said onto her mouth, dropping words more precious than rubies and emeralds and sapphires into her heart, her soul. I love you. There is no limit to what I can give you, no time I need. Even when this world is a forgotten whisper of dust between the stars, I will love you. I'm not okay.
Oh my god!
Rowan.
I'm not okay.
Rowan.
Oh my god, it's so amazing and beautiful, and I'm dying. Oh, so we go from there, and we just top that right off. Aelin says, you are mine. He says, I am yours. She says, and you love me. And he says, to whatever end.
Only thing that could have made that better is like they said that while he was just like slamming into her. It's really punctuated.
So then he tastes her. And I wish we could go into detail about how this is truly described. It's beautiful, soul-wrenching. They bond so thoroughly while their powers wage war with one another, playing, fighting, loving. His ice, her fire, it's everything. And they fuck on the beach. Not once. Not twice, but thrice. And every single bit as soul-shattering for them.
They shut their souls right out.
It's every single bit as soul-shattering for them as it is for all of us.
And it's also really shattering for the ecosystem of Skulls Bay. They really
Again.
were like, fuck them turtles.
Think of the turtles. That's why we all now need to pay a donation every year. God damn it.
When they finally get back to the inn, Rowan is trying to like control himself because he just wants to be inside her at all times. It's like when the dogs are like, no. It's like,
Oh no.
that's Rowan and
No.
Aelin.
They're locked.
Georgia.
They're just locked. They're just walking around like, oh.
But yes, so yeah, they're not locked, but they've marked each other. They've claimed each other, and we're like, mates?
Mates.
Aiden and Dorian are both like, oh, what the fuck is that smell? And our dear girl, Lysandra, is like, enjoy your ride. I
Thank you,
love
thank
it.
you.
I love it.
Oh, the whole thing just made my day reading it. It just made my day. Anyway, there's no time for pleasantries anymore. Aelin tells them everything, not about coitus.
And
About
she's
the word
like, and
keys
then he
the word
fucked me
gates.
thrice.
He
Yeah.
fucked me thrice in all my holes. I've been picking sand out of my cooch for 8 days.
Rowan, I'd like you to take a brief moment to describe to the group how I taste.
Philippa.
No. They don't talk about that. They talk about the word keys and the word gates and what she's been doing apart from sex. And then she draws a word mark and it's like to Dorian, it's time to meet the fam bam because remember they're also related.
Time to die.
Wowzers.
I thought you said 2 houses.
What, 2 chihuahuas?
Locked. Okay, cousins, here we are.
Cousins, brothers, friends. Here we are.
Cousins, brothers, friends gathered amongst us. Elena arrives and Aelin's like, chop chop, we don't have all day. Stop talking in riddles. Get to the fucking point. And she basically explains a few things. One, that Aelin was supposed to get the keys before Erewhon, and it's like, yeah, no shit. That could have happened if you actually told me that in the beginning instead of just saying you need to win the championship.
Literally. I fucking hate all of the gods.
Stupid anuses. Secondly, Brannon had to sacrifice her mother's mortal body to get back the lock, so Aelin needs this. And it's like, not my problem.
No.
Not my problem that your parents decided to do that. And now
Yeah.
your mum wants to go off to be a god in Godland. Like, not relevant.
Too fucking bad. So fucking sad.
But then we find out that Elena's mother was Marla Firebringer herself, which is, I mean, that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. That, in
That's a big
fact,
deal.
that means a lot.
And Dorian, again, back to his one of the only emotions he has in the entire series, he's shocked by all of this. So this means that he and Aelin have Marla's power in their veins. And he's like, interesting. I'm also shocked.
Take
Marla,
notes.
who is she? Where can I meet her? What does she look like? I know we're loosely related, but can I bang her and fall in love with her and give her a rose?
So the Scooby Gang decide to go to the Stone Marshes, and they send half of Rolf's fleet to find the rest of the Mycenians, and then go to Terrace, and then the other half to stay in Skulls Bay. They then set off to the Stone Marshes, and Dorian is watching Aelin as she looks out over the sea. And we get this quote, "But even as the Queen stood undimming before the shadows of the world, a lick of cold traced the contours of Dorian's heart, and he wondered if she was somehow watching the archipelago and the seas and the skies, as if she might never see them again."
Oh,
Well, that's terrifying.
Dorian, stop being so observant.
We then jump to like 3 days later, and all of a sudden there is a wyvern flying nearby with a white-haired witch lying lifeless over the saddle. Everyone goes to shoot it down, but Dorian tells them not to shoot, and no one listens until Aelin's like, yo, actually no, listen to him. The wyvern, our sweet Abraxos, is flying close to the ship, trying to get help. Then Manon falls out of the saddle and into the water.
Oh my god.
Abraxos had his socks up to knee highs with little
He really
lace
strapped
trimming.
in.
Oh my god, with
He's
the little
just-
lace trimming.
We then dive into part 2 of Empire of Storms, which is called Fireheart.
It's called Fire Farts.
Fireheart.
Elite is still going strong in the circus. Remember, we've left them there. But
Oh,
her
yeah.
customers... Her customers are being chased away by Lorcan's magical sword-throwing hands. Not his magical sword.
That too, though.
So Elite goes to watch one of his shows, and we get this. A trickle of sweat slid through the crisp spattering of dark hair on his sculpted chest. Elite watched, a bit transfixed, as that bead of sweat wended down the muscled grooves of his stomach, lower.
We were trying to lick it.
Oh, God. So she wanders back to her tent, and then Lorcan appears, and it's like, oh, hello, sir. She tells him she can never be with a man. No. No. She
She
I'm
actually
actually a
likes
nun.
women. She likes women, and it's Manon. Manon and her, they're together.
Elite.
Oh, she tells him she's never been with a man. Give me back my girlhood. It was my first. His internal monologue is like, oh shit, she looks good in her makeup. Like, he's not even listening. He's like, you're a virgin. I'm even more intrigued. Cool. And you look hot with red lips.
It's those
I just-
tartars.
It's the Tartars.
There's some really good fan art of like Elite in disguise, and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he is so distracted by her that he didn't even notice anything was amiss until the screaming started. A bit like Kale. Kale's just off. But Kale's not distracted by a beautiful woman. Kale's just being Kale. Just
Kale's
looking
distracted
around.
by literally anything.
Kale's actually been kidnapped, so he can't notice anything right now.
No.
Kale's dead.
Rip.
Not even Rip. He can just fucking die.
He can be active in peace. I really
Dead.
like that. Turns out the screaming is the Ilkin, and they've tracked a lead here. So when Lorcan tells a lead to hide, she does. He slips out and is standing with the two other carnival folk, circus goers, when the Ilkin are like, because they can talk, we're looking for a girl called Elide Lorcan. Lorcan's like, Elide? Because remember, she's dead mum, Marion. It's a
She's
whole
Nazza.
time. He protects her. The carnival people stay quiet. But then the Ilkin are like, well, we're hungry anyway. Chomp, chomp, nom, nom.
Nom nom.
Nom nom.
Elite is hiding when she hears someone approach, and when she comes out, Lorcan is there. He managed to fend off all of the Ilkin, and he asks her what the fuck she's doing lying to him, and she doesn't back down. She's like, why the fuck should I trust you? They go back and forth, and she explains to him some truths about her. Like, she explains who her mother was and that she has nothing to offer Aelin, but she will go to her aid and help in any way she can. Then Lorcan explains his story, and they realise that they're both kind of tragic. They both have no friends, no family, but they do have each other. They
Well, all good
Yeah.
romances are based off of isolation, yes.
literally, they decide to stay together, even if it's temporary, and Lorcan doesn't really know what the fuck is going on, but he knows he won't leave. Not without her and those Baps.
Not without those chickens.
He's
Yeah.
like, chicken.
Not without those chickens.
So we're then in Manon's point of view, and Manon wakes up on the ship. Aelin is there, and Aelin is like, Braxos is just like sprawled out in the sun having a grand old time. You, on the other hand, look like shit and you almost died. Aelin doesn't really care what happened to her. She's just like, you're our prisoner now, and if you try to do anything, I will yeet you from the chat.
Yeah, I'm going to fuck you up.
I kind of love the
Stop
power
it.
dynamics here. It's so great.
Yeah, I know. So we're in Dorian's POV, and Dorian is watching over her, and she wakes up, and he's like, hello, witchling. And she's like, hello, princeling. And every single time Ellie, have you heard the TikTok sound with that?
I'm not sure if I have.
Hello, witchling. Hello, princess.
Isn't it so hot? Everything.
Yeah.
I die every single time I hear that. It's fucking brilliant. Every time I see it on the page, I die, I queef. I love it. So Dorian doesn't tell Manon that he jumped into the water and swam to get her without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But I scream at this point, so it's fine. I scream on Manon's behalf.
We'll hold space for her in that way.
So Manon explains to him that Aelin shouldn't bother to use her negotiations because the matron doesn't view her as heir anymore. So that's awesome. Great. Awesome. Dorian is trying to get her vibes back, you know, the vibes, because Manon seems broken. And we get this quote, I once told you to find me again. It seems like you couldn't wait to see my handsome face. I love it.
God.
I love it. I love it. Dorian apologizes to Manon if saving him was at this cost. So for her to be like almost dead, you know, awesome. And Manon is like, you find out if the 13 are alive and I'm yours to command. Then she tells him to tell Aelin that a lead is alive and looking for her. Oh. So Manon ends up going back to sleep, and she keeps sleeping and dreaming of her sister, the Kraken witch that she killed, and of the 13.
So next chapter, and we're back in Elide and Lorcan's point of view. They stop for one night with the carnival, and they end up going to like multiple taverns to see if they can hear any news about Aelin. Elide finds out that Aelin isn't in the north, and she's been travelling this far for no reason. Elide is stressed, but Lorcan is like trying to subtly hint to her that he doesn't want to leave her when soldiers arrive. Yeah. He's like, we can either go back to the carnival or get the fuck out of here. And she's like, let's get the fuck out of here. That seems like a really good idea. She can't run, so he hoists her over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. And they get to the shoreline and have this like tangle with a captain as they're trying to convince him to like let them use the boat. Lorcan says that he'll drop the captain around like the next bend of the river, but when Elide comes out of hiding, Lorcan's killed him. She's furious, but honestly, what did she expect?
Yeah, it's a bit
honestly.
naive.
Yeah, she starts flinging words at him because she's so pissed, and the stone she's carrying gives off weird vibes. Lorcan recognizes that vibe and is like, wait a darn minute.
Oh dear.
Storms inside the cabin of the boat and cracks open the amulet that he thought the word key was inside, and finds a note from Aelin and one of the Valg rings being like, soz babe, XOXO gossip girl. See you soon. Lorcan loses his shit and is like, surprise, Elide, we're going to see your queen and I'm going to slit her fucking throat.
Big yikes.
Lorcan also tells Elide that Aelin and Selena are the same person, and a few other like small tidbits about how shitty of a person he believes Aelin is. And Elide is kind of like, fuck you, you're just jealous, girl boss energy, women's rights, women's wrongs, all that jazz.
I love that. I love that she wasn't so easily swayed into being like, oh my god, she must be a horrible person if you're telling me this. I really like that she stayed to her conviction. We snap to Aelin in a dream. And we have a quote from that dream, which is, the world began and ended with fire. Look, that's ominous. I'm not liking where that's heading.
The world began and ended with fire. I fucking love that.
So she can hear Rowan roaring her name, which, I mean, just to hear that man say my name, let alone roar.
Say my name, say my name.
She's covered in flames, but she's like facing this wall of air. Rowan is like, you are its master. You control it. Your fear grants it the right to take over. I see you. I see every part of you, and I am not afraid. So he pulls her out of the depths of her power, but he's on edge. He is full territorial, fae, bastard energy, which I'm kind of here for. Like, the feminism just leaves my body. And I'm like, no, tell me how much
Tell me
you
what to
need
do.
me.
Tell me what to do.
She's like, dude, chill, I'm okay. And he's like, you were literally in fire trapped within your mind. Not taking that as an okay answer, no. She ends up giving him a command to get her water, which I can get
Acts
around
of
that as well.
service.
Yeah.
Yes.
Acts of service.
So she's like trying to take his mind off it so he calms down as well. And then she kisses him and he like relaxes a bit. Beautiful, sweet, love it. They both basically bring each other out of their own loss of control in this moment, which is just music makes me lose control. Oh, Missy
Music
Elliott,
makes me
fuck
lose
up.
control.
They're having this beautiful, tender moment after both of them nearly destroying the entire ship. And it's just, it's beautiful, it's wonderful as all things.
So next minute, Manon awakens, and it's her predatory instincts that wake her up. So something's fishy. And
It's just actually Aelin's orgasm rippling out into the world.
She's like, oh, someone is getting off.
the poor turtles.
Them poor turtles.
It's
poor
the fried
turtles.
turtles.
Oh, God. They're fried now.
Fried turtle
I just
eggs.
thought they were like bludgeoned,
Crisped.
but no, they're fried now.
No, they'd be fried, they'd be burnt.
Crisped. It's actually Dorian. And he walks in and he's got flames in his hand, which is fucking awesome. And he asks her if she sent that ripple of power, but she says no. So that's cool. They then talk about the yielding, and things are starting to get a little bit hot. Are you ready? Dorian says, "How many men have you been with?" And Manon says, "Enough to know how to handle the needs of mortal princelings, to know what will make you beg." He drifted across the room, past the range of her chains, right into her own breathing space. He leaned over her, nearly nose to nose, nothing at all amused in his face, in the cut of his cruel, beautiful mouth, as he said, "I don't think you can handle the sort of things I need, witchling. And I am never begging for anything again in my life." Oh,
Says
my
Dorian.
God. This is the Dorian that I love.
Daddy
This one.
Dorian.
This is, remember when I said I needed to get a little bit of dick up about him? This is it. His dick is up.
He's gone around the corner and he's just shoved his own dick up and around.
himself.
He's given himself a bit of dicking, so he's ready. He's manly now. He then just like leaves. So like mid, like they're face to face, they're getting in each other's grill, and then he just gets up and leaves. And Manon thinks that's it, but then he just magically reappears. He's like, "Psych, I'm back," and he locks the door. And I am fucking quaking.
Jesus.
He's like, don't try anything. And she's like, I wouldn't dare. Which I'm also kind of like,
I would dare.
Manon, step into your power, honey buttons. Just,
A lot of
Yeah.
we're saying that, but we've also just been talking about all the deplorable things Rowan Whitethorn could do to us, so we can't talk.
It's true.
Rowan's like,
No.
don't try anything, and I'm like, absolutely.
I will do whatever
I
you tell me
know,
to do.
but
I am a good little girl.
I would listen to Rowan. Would I listen to Dorian?
Different
Maybe
energy.
Not so much. Different energy.
I would.
I'd like to see what he could do.
I would be a brat, and then he would in fact punish.
Ooh.
You know, Rowan, I'd be like, "I am a good girl, please fuck me," and then Dorian, I'd be like, "Fuck you," and then he'd be like, "No, fuck you," and I'd be like, "Try me," and then he would.
We've got a whole journey here.
Yeah,
We really have. I'm glad we unpacked that, though. I felt like that was
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah.
Listeners, chime in with your 2 cents. Who would you like to be fucked more and why?
And are you the brat or the good girl? Wow.
yeah.
You could be both.
Or are you the bad girl,
Ooh.
the villain? She's
Villain
actually just
era.
using everyone else for her own pleasure, and she doesn't want anyone.
I love
See,
that
that's what I
phrase.
wanted Manon to be. A little bit, just going like, just anyway. So she starts to undo her buttons all sexily, and he's like, no. And he grabs her arms with his phantom invisible hands. Daddy phantom hands.
This is why I need someone with phantom hands in my life.
Yeah.
Imagine someone being able to pin your hands, while they're fondling you, while they're playing with your boobs,
Choking you. They're
choking you. Oh my God. All of them.
They're everywhere, all at once.
Hmm.
Anyway, he lightly grazes her mouth with his. He takes charge, but when he pulls back and looks at her, whatever he sees in her eyes makes him take a step back and leave.
Oh,
Dorian, what are you doing, sir?
You're a fucking
Why?
cunt tease.
Literally.
He is. Again, mixed messages. I'm not a fan.
The next day, Aelin is watching Aelin and Rowan spar. Aelin is still like loaded because she and Manon had got into an argument that morning about a lead, and Aelin almost killed her for leaving, a lead with the fucked up ankle alone in a forest.
Yes.
But she didn't because, Manon helped rescue a lead too, so it kind of cancels out. Aelin is also avoiding his father and has decided he hates Fenris. Aelion's still quite smitten with Lysandra, and we're all dying over that. But they wander down to see Rowan and Aelin is unsurprisingly super pissy. Dorian's picked a really bad time to be like, we should just let Manon out, let her free into the wild. Aelin is like, no, but does it in a really harsh way. And Dorian is like, I am a king too, right?
No one's forgotten Dorian. She saved. She's the reason you are the king.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Aelin's obviously like, okay, look, you've got a point. I should probably just chill the fuck out. We're all adults. We can make our own decisions. So they go down to speak with the witch, and Aelin can't stop thinking about Rowan and the noises he makes when they are doing the dirty.
Just out of nowhere. She's just actually fucking.
Literally. We've got this quote. Rowan had healed the bruise on the back of her knuckles from the blow she dealt the witch, and she thanked him by locking the door to their room and getting on her knees before him. She could still feel his fingers fisted in her hair, still hear his groan, and her scent changes, and obviously Rowan looks at her and is like, what the fuck? Girl, stop it, I'm horny all the time. They get to Manon's cabin, and Manon sees Rowan, Aelin, and Dorian, and then she looks at Fenris behind them. And we think they're having a moment, but no, she's like, that's not fucking Fenris. And then Fenris tries to leap for Manon and everyone stops him. But then his skin melts away, which is really, really creepy. And it's super concerning. You should see a dermatologist about that. But it's actually one of Erewhon's bloodhounds. I don't think a dermatologist can fix that, actually.
No.
Big yikes.
No.
The bloodhound sends a signal to Erewhon before Aelin can burn her to death. And then the real Fenris comes in and shoots her with arrows. Manon's chains get unlocked, and then as the bloodhound stands up once again, she throws a leather strap at Manon, and it's the strap that Astrid had worn every day on her head.
Oh my God. We're all stressed.
Literally.
Not Astrid. Manon leaps for the bloodhound as this is happening, and Dorian's phantom hands grab the bloodhound before Manon can get to it, pinning it down, and then severs the head off its body.
Oof.
Yikes. Dorian.
Jesus,
Yeah.
Dorian.
That's kind of fucking odd.
Yeah.
Anyway, Manon is pissed, but then there's screaming, and Abraxos is roaring. So Manon is fucking bigger fish to fry, runs, and then there's Ilkin everywhere. So that's not good. Lysandra and Abraxos are flying and fighting from the air. Ka-chow, ka-chow. Should I call chow?
Okay, Kachinga.
Sorry, I don't know why I turned into Lightning McQueen. It's fine. Lightning Virgin, Rowan, Aelin, and Dorian are using their magic to kill them, and the Fey warriors are doing what they do best: killing. Fenris protects Aelin, but then in the process he gets scratched, and there's poison on their claws or whatever, and it gets into his skin. Obviously, very uh-oh moment, bad vibes. Gabriel protected Aelin, and Rowan is protecting the other ships. She doesn't know where Manon is, so that's yikes. Then an Ilkin drops onto the deck, and she goes to kill it, but it starts talking. It says that Erewhon now knows what she carries with her because of the fight at Skulls Bay. Right.
Yikes.
We learn that Gavriel loved Adian's mother, but she told him to leave for their safety. Gavriel would have broken the blood oath if needed to save them. And Adian's like, I've interpreted this situation in the wrong way, in fact. Perhaps, potentially, I have been too harsh on you, Daddy Cat.
Yeah.
So he's like, I need some time to process this. So he just drops the
Daddy
fuck off.
Cat.
Daddy Cat.
He's a Ducati.
Because he's
Lol.
Right. So as he leaves, Rowan comes to get Aelin because she is drained after healing Fenris, and he's like, "Come on, my love, we must go and fuck,
Must away.
and then you can sleep." So when Adian is on watch on the deck at night, Lysandra appears in her ghost leopard form and rests her head on his lap.
Super
Oh,
cute.
if my partner could turn themselves into some form of animal that was also cute at moments, like, oh,
Amazing.
So
also kind of weird, but oh.
Look,
No,
we're
fuck
very weird, so why stop now? So Dorian has mended his own wounds, but he's obviously still learning how to do everything with his raw magic. He sees Manon mending Abraxos's wounds, and Aelin attempted to help, but Manon had snarled at her and threatened to rip out her spine, which we know is one of my favourite moves that Manon does.
yes.
We get this quote. Dorian knew he was towing a dangerous line. The other night he'd been ready to slowly strip her naked to put those chains to good use. And when he'd found her gold eyes devouring him as intently as he'd wanted to devour other parts of her.
Oh,
Dorian! Oh my god.
Dorian.
Manon speaks with him, and Dorian doesn't ask the question, but she knows he's wondering if he's becoming a monster. And she says that he isn't because he killed that enemy quickly and didn't torture them. Manon tells Dorian that she's no mortal woman, and if he wants a mortal woman, then he should look elsewhere. But Dorian just says that mortals are too breakable.
Moment of silence for Humpty Dumpty, who fell off the wall and head tumbled. Cool.
God. When Manon starts explaining that her shadows couldn't find out much about the Ilkin, Aelin and the others come to have a chat. Seems like a relevant conversation. Aelin asks Manon about her heritage, and Manon explains that her grandmother told, what her grandmother told her about her father being a Crocan prince. Manon then sees Aelin feeling sorry for herself, and we have this moment. Snap out of it. So you miscalculated. So they tracked you. Don't get distracted with the minor defeats. This is war. Cities will be lost, people slaughtered, and if I were you, I would be more concerned about why they sent so few Ilkin. Which she's not wrong.
Not wrong.
It continues, and we have this moment where the quote is, when Aelin opened her eyes, her smile subdued but edged, she said to the Witch Queen, I knew I saved your sorry ass for a reason. Manon's answering smile was terrifying. I love it.
them.
I love it.
Love them so fucking much.
That's one of my favourite bits, by the way. I love when Manon and Aelin go toe-to-toe. It's everything to me.
Because they're so similar.
I know.
It's just...
Two queens.
Beautiful.
Two queens. Two murderous queens.
Murderous queens. So then they start talking about Maeve and Erewhon, and Aelin is like, Maeve must be working with Erewhon, and Fenris is like, no, she wouldn't do that. But Aelin is like, she would for the right price. But then Fenris comes out with this weird little tidbit that's like, nameless is my price. And Aelin is like, reverse, rewind. What the fuck did you just say?
I would like at this stage, Ellie, when you were reading this and you find out about nameless is my price, did you pick up on all of the vibes we were giving in our episodes where we were like, nameless is my price?
Nameless.
No.
Damn it.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because as soon as I read that and she freaked out, I was like, they're going to go fuck. And then she started vomiting, and I was like, this took a turn.
What did you think? What did you think was happening when she was vomiting?
I got very angry at them. I got very, very angry that they would be so reckless as to potentially get pregnant at this time in their lives.
I know. And poor Rowan. Rowan is on his basically on his chest bed. He's like, ah! So Aelin is obviously shook by this, and she storms out after figuring out that obviously Baba Crayola was
Baba Crayon.
was a powerful oracle, and said, "Nameless is my prize," you know? So big yikes. We're unsure of what her plan is here, but something is obviously coming together in her brain. So cool. Rowan follows Aelin to her suite, and she's puking. Big yikes. She locked him out of the room. He goes to break down the fucking door.
Love that.
But then she opens it and she looks really pale. She's like sick. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's basically like, "You need to fuck off. I need a woman. Where's Lysandra?" And he's like, he starts piecing things together, and he's like, "What? Whoa, wait a second. Whoa. And he goes to get Lysandra and then flies off in his hawk form, because in his head, he's like, babies on the battlefield. Yikes. They're putting babies inside the giant catapults and flinging them. And then they're doing the Queen Elizabeth climb up the gate.
Shiny little helmets on.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Tiny little helmets with like the fluff in the middle, like the mohawk fluff.
Yes.
And they're grabbing on the...
There's just millions of them.
Millions of
Like a
babies.
litter.
Kill the babies!
Wow.
And they're just attacking the other people's feet.
This took a really weird turn.
You really did.
Anyway,
Okay.
so huge yikes, babies on the battlefield, kill the babies. Anyway. He's flying forward, like in front of the ship, when he sees Ilway. And he realizes that Ilway is burning.
Oh, no.
Yikes.
So we're back with Elide and Lorcan, and they're not friends right now because Lorcan killed that one guy that Elide was very fond of.
Who she didn't even know. But
Yes. But also, her cycle has come because, by the way, she hasn't had it in such a long time.
she's
And
been
now it's here
malnourished.
because she feels safe enough to have it. Well, also food and nutrients.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had my period because my body's been like, "You're safe." It's like, "Fuck you, bitch."
Literally.
So he's like, "You stink of blood." And she's like, "Well, yeah, it's normal, actually, Lorcan. My uterus is shedding its lining.
Yeah.
It happens once a month.
The
It's
cycle,
quite
yeah.
normal. Clots can be there. Like, that's probably
Yeah.
what you're smelling. I've just passed quite a big one. Also, I've run out of supplies. So we're going to have to
I
do
just
something about
passed a giant
Giant
fuck-off
clot.
clot.
that. And I've smeared it on your pillow. You're welcome.
Simba.
So he says to her that the last one wasn't that bad. And she's like, "Yeah, because I hadn't had one in a really long time. Also, don't try and start understanding the woman's body now. Look, and you're 400 years old. If you haven't quite worked it out, it's not going to happen anytime soon."
No.
So he's like, "All right, well, we'll just stop at the next town and we'll get you some supplies. In the meantime, stop talking to me about these uncomfortable things." So when they get to the town, she goes to get some clothes and some supplies, and they split up temporarily. And they have like a meeting point back at the boat at a certain time. But when Lorcan arrives, Elide isn't there. And because he's just such a clever man, he's like, "Something must be wrong.
Yeah.
I have a sensation in my body that something is not right." And
The vibes
Really?
are off.
The vibes are off.
really, Lorcan, really, I'm surprised, I'm shocked.
And in fact, those vibes are that Elite has been trapped by Vernon.
Well,
Vernon plans to take her to Morath, and the Ilkin are dragging her outside to an iron box. And the Ilkin are basically trying to shove her in there, but she pivots, breaks her nose on the corner of the box, and then grabs a knife from her uncle's belt, and she's going to plunge it into her own heart because she's like, "I'm not going back. I'm either leaving the chat or I'm fucking, I'm leaving the chat at this rate."
well, that's it. There's
That's it.
only one option.
Yeah. We then switch to Lorcan's point of view, and he'd come back for a lead, and we get this moment of him like hearing her screams, and the quote is, Each sound whetted his rage into something so lethal that Lorcan could barely see straight. And he's like on this roof planning it, but he watches the moment as she gets the knife and is dragging it home, and he throws his hatchet to knock the blade from her hands.
Why do all these females like hatchets? They
It's
all
a
have a
beautiful
hatchet.
weapon.
They all have a hatchet. Instead of like a sword, they're like this tiny little axe. Will fuck you
Yes.
up. For the
This is
babies.
unusual.
For the babies.
Oh,
my
not the
God.
babies again. Far out.
It's for the babies.
Oh, no. All right. Lorcan jumps down from his hiding spot and watches Elide kill one of the Ilkin while they were distracted by him. It's amazing. He's turned on, we're turned on. She's got a broken nose and a sore wrist, but fuck it up, sis.
One of the Ilkin escapes with Vernon, but you know, we'll take what we can get at this point. It's all gravy, baby. Well, as gravy as it can be. Lorcan picks up Elide and carries her back to the boat. She's crying, but quietly crying, not loud crying.
Not like
And
hysterical.
the pretty crying, as I've put here, the pretty crying.
Crying.
She shows him the black stone that Caltaine gave her for Selena, and we get this quote. The god who had watched over him his whole life had recoiled. Even death feared it.
Ooh, that's not a good
Yikes.
sign.
No, it's
It's
not.
not a good sign.
And Lorcan is like, you believed that I would just leave you? And we get this
Yeah.
quote, I made a promise to protect you. I will not break it, Elide. I will always find you. I promise.
Oh, bless him. Bless
Oh,
his
it's
cotton
really
socks.
beautiful. And as they set off sailing, she has had time to think, and Lorcan tells her everything that he knows about the word keys, word gates, etc., about Aelin. And we get this moment as well. Sorry, quote after quote, but fuck it up. She didn't know why she said it, why she felt the need or like it was worth anything to him at all, but Elide stood on her toes, kissed his stubble rough cheek, and said, I will always find you too, Lorcan. She felt him staring at her even when she climbed into bed minutes later. When she awoke, clean strips of linen for her cycle were next to the bed. His own shirt, washed and dried overnight, now cut up for her to use as she would.
Oh, bless
Oh my
him.
god.
That just makes me so warm and fuzzy. And this is the moment where I was like, oh, Lorcan is obsessed with Elide. He is absolutely head over heels smitten for Elide.
Oh, adore it.
And it's so cute because he's so big and she's so small, and they're so
Yeah. He's
different.
like 7 foot, she's like 5 foot. It's great.
But she's got at least 3 foot in tits, so it's fine.
Not even.
Yeah, it tracks,
Yeah.
We're back with the Scooby gang, and Aelin can't stop the boat close enough to the shore to get out and go deal with the fires of Elway that way. So instead, she's putting the fires out from the ship while Rowan and Lysandra travel to shore in hawk form. Rowan was scared that Aelin was pregnant, but she isn't, which is great because I was so not okay with that.
We were all so mad.
We know now that it's because she heard what Fenris said about Nameless is the price type thing, and it made her sick. But she also confirms in this moment that she is not taking a tonic pregnancy.
Right.
Roll.
Oh,
Right.
Ellie's kicking off.
I was not pleased by this. I was not at all. So you're about to enter the war of all wars. You've just started fucking your main squeeze, and you're like, YOLO, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Live,
Fuck the
love.
babies. Fuck the
Live
babies.
life, love. Meanwhile, old mate is having an aneurysm because past trauma with his last baby mama. And y'all are not equipped to bring a baby fae into the world right now. Please, just win the war. Have a good 50 years or so of just fucking each other's brains out. And then think about fetuses.
Yeah.
We've got,
God damn.
jeez.
Put them to
And
war.
you
They
know
need
what?
more soldiers.
Georgia.
Pop them
Georgia.
out. Pop them out. Send them to war.
Do you
That's
guys
what
remember how we
happens.
made that really bad joke about a Gatling gun of Noki coming out the arse?
It's just babies.
It's just babies. Babies are in helmets.
And they're all connected via the cord.
Stop.
So they
No.
start tangled.
Because now it's like a human centipede of babies, and I can't. I can't.
Can't encourage this.
You're welcome.
didn't
You're
ask
welcome.
for it. I didn't ask for it, and I'm
You're
not
welcome.
thankful. Not thankful.
Nope, you're welcome.
Anyway, just from that, please just take just wait. Just go have some fun times out in the sun on the beach.
Yeah.
You don't need children.
You don't need children.
You don't
You
need
don't
children
need
right
them.
now.
The world is
guys.
overpopulated
It
as
is.
it is.
And also, just take the tonic. If you're not actively wanting to be pregnant, be on birth control. Anywho, we're back in Ilway now, and the people within Ilway are whispering that darkness swept over the continent, and that's when the fires started. But there are some rumours that it was Aelin starting the fires for them, not coming to Terrason's aid 10 years ago. Someone's just been like, you know what? I spotted her out there with her gold hair, and she had 2 sticks, and she was rubbing them together really vigorously.
She had all these babies. They all had torches. They're all running out, just lighting shit on fire.
Oh my god.
You're gonna make me wee.
You gotta think, they've been, like, Erewhon's been breeding all those little demon babies.
Oh my god.
So we'll just breed an army of fae babies with wings.
Yeah.
Fuck them up. Babies against babies. 1v1.
Okay, right. So they're putting out fires. Yes, they arrive at the stone marshes. And Manon has been told by Aelin that Abraxos has to leave for a couple of days. He just has to go on a bit of a holiday because he's too big and he brings too much attention to their boat. Manon's not pleased by this.
He's had a lot
He's
going
got a
on.
journey.
He needs a
He
holiday.
needs some time off.
He does. We have this quote. You saved my life many times. I never thanked you for it. You and me from now until the darkness claims us.
Oh.
The relationship between Abraxos and Manon is stronger than the relationship that Dorian has ever had with any of his former lovers.
Any of them.
Absolutely.
Any of them.
So Abraxos flies away and Manon chucks out the cloak her grandmother made for her to hold on to, like that Crocken witch, which turned out to be her sister.
Which she
So-
probably should have thrown out a little while ago, really.
Yes.
It's a little bit fucked up.
A little bit fucked up. But she
Yeah.
does keep a tiny scrap of it and ties it through the bottom of her braid. They leave the boat and they travel inwards towards the stone marshes.
How
Dun,
exciting.
dun,
And look, that's where we're leaving part 2 of Empire of Storms because you know how long it's been. You've been here. You've been listening to the whole thing.
It's
You
just been
think that-
so long.
You think the episode's long. Imagine how long it's taken us to record this. Next week, we are back with part 3 of Empire of Storms, and that's chapters 53 onwards. We'll also give you our music references and our fan art, and all will be gravy, baby. Or will it? This book ends on such a note.
Oh, God, it will not be gravy, baby. There's no
Trauma
gravy.
Central. No.
There are only
It's just-
babies.
Stop. Okay, we're going, everyone. We're going to leave you.
All right. See you next week, guys. I'm so sorry. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.